Welcome everyone. Today we have an updated build of the last Epoch Marksman build for Season 1. Looking behind me, this is just a small preview of the testing dummies of the epic ball lightning build. Yes, this is incredibly powerful, and let me show you guys a few demonstrations, then we jump into the build update. Now, if you have seen our previous video, you can still see the highlights over here. It is amazing to watch, no matter how many times I watched it. So this is a 2-second Julia kill. I was saying 1 second in the previous video. Yes, it took 2 seconds to take down a tier 4 Temper Septim dungeon boss. And similarly, at corruption level 120 plus, it is incredibly good. I'm on my way of getting my mid-transitional build for the Marksman, and I'll show you guys my live demonstration of the build in progress. So I'm sure you guys might have seen our previous video, and that is why you're here as well. If you haven't, I'll briefly show you guys the build running through dungeons and also Monolith as well. Now over here, we're looking at a close to 1300 Monolith clear, and the build make the clear looks like tier 1 dungeon. So this is a close to 1300 corruption, and this particular build is insanely great for AoE. It has great mobility, lots of barriers or warding, and also tons of damage. You saw how powerful it was against single target bosses, and it is great against multiple monsters, because your damage will bounce and you will chain lightning them non-stop. I'm calling this the lightning ZEUS build. It is really fun. I'm having a great time even around level 40-50 as I'm leveling. It is incredible, and I can't wait to be farming for my endgame items to craft legendaries and also to make them stronger. Now, as promised to the previous video, my Chinese friend who shared his video has a really detailed video up to 24 minutes. I have watched the video and tried to translate every highlight of the video, including the gears, including the idols, blessings, skills, and also passives. Now, I have done something additional for you guys. If you're farming for the build, I have recorded the best way and also priorities for farming different items at different places. If you come over to a doc, you can also see the links that is linked to the official website with last Epoch tools. So this will show you where to farm those items, and this will also highlight which of the items is a boss specific job, and which of the items can be found elsewhere with different percentages. So yes, this is gonna be a very detailed guide to provide you guys with the best method of learning the build and also building the build yourself, whether if you're in the Circle of Fortune or if you're in the Merchant Guild. So coming over to the builder's guide my friend shared with me. Now, one thing you do want to notice that a lot of viewers will say, oh, there's a lot of affixes, I'm not sure if I can get those. I'll try to limit the build to only 3 of the most important affixes, but having the build with 4 affixes will give you the best variety that you can be crafting onto your gears. Now, compared to our last video, this one won't change much, just that I'll be giving you guys the best 3 affixes you can be crafting for those legendary items. Now, I think it is the best for me to explain this particular part of the video using a guide. So those are coming from the highlights from my friend, and you can have a look at his Chinese video, which he actually explained a lot. And for those of you guys who can't speak Chinese, so I'm here to help. So the first part is, we really need those double daggers, guys. So here I'm currently using double daggers, and the biggest highlight, guys, is the -4 mana. It can roll up to -6 mana. You're looking to -8 mana on your daggers. And this is how to have no mana cost. Where am I? This is how you can have no mana cost on your detonating arrow. And this allows you to deal massive damage with no mana cost. Now, my friend mentioned that having lightning damage, flat lightning damage with tier 7 rank is going to be a massive boost to your damage. So if you're crafting this dagger, if you only have 1 legendary potential, try to get tier 7 or tier 6 lightning damage with melee damage, and this will be massive. Now, if you have seen our previous video, I mentioned that my friend shared 2 builds with us. One is a transitional farming build that only uses the daggers and nothing else. Well, he is using the ring as well. And the second build is going to be a build that is going to be focusing on the ward gaining setup. And this involves the chest, the boots, and also the gloves. Now, briefly explain about this concept. So once you have the chest, the gloves, and also the boots, you'll be gaining more warding based on the loss of life. And having this amulet means that you will not be gaining life. And this is one of the reasons, as you can see in the videos, my friend has no life. He pretty much have minimal life, close to 1 or 0 life, and this allows for massive warding gaining for defensive potential. Now, during this time, the centerpiece will be actually these gloves, because you'll be gaining ward retention per 1% uncapped cold resistance. This is why he's getting over 600% cold resistance, and he's stacking cold resistance over here, because every percent equals to 1% of the ward retention. And this is why he can get over 10,000 warding because of this setup. Now, in order to make himself stronger, he's using the unique amulet and also rings for additional combination to enhance this setup. So the unique amulet in combination with the ring over here allows him to convert more of his health to warding. And together with the ring and also the belt, he is actually getting additional damage while applying Doom on hit. So you can see on the belt, while having Doom on hit, he will get 5% more melee damage. I think he mentioned in the video, he can get up to 20 to 30% multipliers with additional melee damage using the belt and also the ring combination. Now, one thing I do want to notice, it is that my friend mentioned in his video that this particular unique boot will slow you with chill every 3 seconds. And in the video, he mentioned that while you are slowed, you will have less damage, because the build actually gains more damage with higher movement speed. So this is when you can cast your smoke bomb. And whenever you cast your smoke bomb, this will remove all the debuff on you. And this is why you can see in some of the boss fight, my friend will deliberately cast the smoke bomb right before fighting the boss, which removes the debuff, gives him more buffs and also more damage. So if you find yourself to be a little slow because of the debuff of the freeze effect from the boots, you can always use your smoke bomb to remove this and also gain tons of damage. Now, in terms of the relic, one thing to notice for the relic is that you have to do some number crunching because you have to match your intelligence and also attunement. This will allow you to shoot water orbs, which will increase your lightning damage by 30%, and this is for each of the orbs. If you shoot 3 of those, this will be amplified by like 90%, right? And together, this particular relic also gives you higher lightning damage and also more cold resistance, and those are the biggest factor for this build. And finally guys, for the second ring, it is a little harder to get this ring to higher legendary potential, which you can see on the second part. So my friend recommended in his video that you can go for an Exalted ring with tier 7 lightning damage, tier 5 mana regen, tier 5 cold resistance, and anything to do with health or maybe resistance to get 75% resistance. Now, we mentioned earlier about the idols and also blessing. For the idols, you are stacking HP percentage and also cold resistance, so you can get additional water retention by the effect of these unique gloves. So every bit of over here is going to be cold resistance. Even the small ones, he's getting fire and also fire, just so he can get close to 75% over here for the 75 all resist. Now, as for the blessings, it is quite straightforward. He is getting whatever blessing he's missing and also getting additional armor and also defensive capacities. You do want to shred lightning resistance when you can, and this will be a massive damage boost. Now, briefly going through some of the highlight of the skills. So here you can see our notes over here. I'll just jump directly to the skills and show you guys over here. The first thing is you'll be casting Swift. Swift will give you additional movement speed, additional mana gain while you're in low life, which means you're always getting the 48 mana, and also Swift will be auto casting your shurikens. Now, together with the ability to cast shadow columns, which will duplicate your spells, which triggers more traps and also more explosion with arrows, Swift is going to be a wonderful mobility skill with additional movement speed. While auto casting your shuriken, you'll be gaining additional shock chance, which deals more damage with lightning. And together, you'll be gaining additional armor and also having longer duration. So this is actually a defensive shuriken. As you Swift, you gain armor, you also deal more damage. And this is all auto-casted with one skill. Now, in terms of a centerpiece of the skill, we'll be using Explosive Trap from 5 points of rank into Falconer, and we get a free detonating arrow. Now, I know some of you might have noticed, as a Marksman, we're going with 0 points into Marksman. We're getting some points into Falconer so we can get Explosive Trap. We're getting some great mobility and also utility from the Blade Dancer, and also we're pretty much a rogue, because we use daggers, right? So, coming back to the skills, your Explosive Trap will be the centerpiece. You'll be auto-casting your detonating arrow using Explosive Trap. And because the mana consumption for the detonating arrow is set to be 0 with your daggers, no matter how much increased mana it is, 0 times anything is going to be 0, right? So this is a massive factor for the build, and you want to get this one as soon as you can with those daggers. And then you'll be converting your damage into lightning, and also additional ways to reduce your mana cost, and also summoning more traps over here. Now, while being auto-casted with your traps, Your detonating arrow will be allow you to deal more damage and also additional lightning penetration, additional ways of chaining onto enemies, and also tons of additional damage. Now finally, we'll have a smoke bomb. Casting smoke bomb will give you tons of damage boost, increased duration, and also chance of getting additional clone. Additional clone will allow you to do more damage with the additional spells casted, duplicating those, and this also provides you with a cleanse, which remove any debuffs like the slow debuff and gives you more damage. Now one of the biggest highlights for the build is, even at level 45, yes, I'm making too many videos, didn't get time to level, I can deal tremendous damage. So this is just me using one of the simple rotations. I cast a shot, I cast dash, and here, let's have a look at my damage. It's pretty good, right? Over 10-20,000 damage at level 45, just bonkers. And this is just with some random setup of items. I'll make a guide on those random items. I'm trying to roll into some, waving items, and it's actually pretty crazy. So let me show you guys this build on the next video. Even at level 45, I'm clearing out Monolith that is level 50 or 60. This is an incredible build, even in the early stage of the game. Now that we talk about the build setup, let's come over to the second part of how you can acquire those items. Well, the centerpiece of the build, as I stressed out multiple times, is having those two daggers to have together -8 mana cost. So the first thing you want to notice in a guide is to get your weapons. You can be getting your weapons from the Ring of Dragons, and this is the storyline on one of the stories you can find that. And it is quite common to get those daggers, guys. So let me show you guys over here. When you click onto the builder's guide and you scroll down, you can see where you're finding those items and the chance of dropping. It is very common to get those daggers, and once you have some right daggers, you can start the build and have a great time. Now in terms of the farming priorities, after getting your daggers, what I recommend is to farm boss specific items. I have highlighted the boss specific items and also their possible drop rate for 2 legendary potential and also the rarity of those. As you're farming for those boss specific items, you have a chance of dropping other rare items or unique items that is all over the map. You don't have to be enhanced target farming until you really need those items. And you can see my priorities of farming for those items for whichever items you're still missing. Now during this time, if you guys are also looking for the dagger or any particular item and you can't find it, Rune of Ascendance can be a great factor. And this is when the rarity of the items come from. So let me use the simulators and also show you guys. I'll have the simulators available for you guys to have a look. So here I'll be looking for daggers, right? Because I need daggers. So if I select dagger and I do 1000 simulation, you can see this particular knife have a great chance of 17% appearance. So if you're crafting with Runes of Ascendance, you can easily get tons of those daggers. And those daggers will be the centerpiece of the build. So having 10 to 20 Runes of Ascendance will guarantee you to have at least 2 or 3 sets of those daggers. Now do keep in mind, guys, the boss targeted items or dungeon targeted items cannot be crafted with Runes of Ascendance. So let's try one of the uncommon items and let's have a look at the rate. Now we could also use the same method to get one of those rare items to be crafted from Runes of Ascendance, but it is much more rare. So let me show you guys a demonstration over here. Let's go to body armor and have a look at the body armor we're looking for. This particular body armor only have a 3.7% chance. So notice the difference between the rarity of items. Now during this time, as you target farm, if you're in the Circle of Fortune, you can be using the prophecies to target farm items that are not boss or dungeon specific. So avoid the purple ones if you're looking to target farm with prophecies. But at the same time, if you guys are in the merchant guild, those items are actually pretty cheap. So let me show you guys something interesting. So this is one of the reasons I decided to play the merchant guild, is that if you look at the zero cost, the 0 legendary potential ones, if you go to the lowest price, those items are free. Yes, you just need the favors. You can pick up those unique items pretty much for free. Just pick the one with higher mana minus cost and you'll be set in the early game. Now if you haven't seen our farming guide for Circle of Fortune, I'll be having the links of that video for you guys to have a look. And in terms of the merchant guild, I recommend buying most of the items if they're under 200,000 for 1 to 2 legendary potential. The goal is to get 1 to 2 legendary potential, craft some items, start farming for 1 to 500 corruption, and then we're going to sell items that is going to be interesting and then buy stronger items. Now I'll be making a mega guide for the merchant guild for you guys, how to make gold, how to sell items, what items to farm, and also even a loot filter to make tons of gold. this will be a work in progress. So stay tuned and subscribed for a merchant guild and also make tons of gold. Now as for the loot filter, currently I have one simple loot filter for the early game leveling for the Marksman. And if you're importing and if you want strict loot filters, you can adjust the rarity over here up to tier 6 up to tier 7 for super rare. So this is adjustable from early game all the way up to late game. This is a very simple one, and I have made one combining all the class I'm playing, Falconer, Warlock and also Marksman, and I'll be updating this loot filter for you guys as well in the description below. So if you're using the multi-filters, if you're only playing 2 out of the 3 classes, you can untick the other ones. There's also one for Paladin as well. But if you're only playing the Marksman for now, I recommend using the early game Marksman filter and then adjust this one for the late game as you increase the threshold of the loot you want to find. Now hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Oh boy, after making the previous videos I was pretty burned out. It took me a while to make this guide, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I'm really excited for the new build, and yes, I'm leveling a little slower because every time I want to level I want to make a guide as well. So I'll try to level maybe to 60 to 70 and make an updated transitional guide for this build, and this is incredibly powerful. And meanwhile, if you guys haven't seen the replays, I will still have the replays available for you guys to have a look, just as a demonstration of the potential of the build and also how powerful it is. Now, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so, because I'll be learning with tons of the top meta, last Epoch build from different players in terms of solo and also in terms of co-op, to push for higher corruptions, 800, 2000 here, and also different ways of getting top leaderboard with arena with leveling. And in doing so, we'll be learning multiple builds from the best players in the world. So make sure you subscribe and join me on this adventure to learn with Last Epoch. And if you guys do have an amazing build, whether it's a fun build, it's a creative build, or maybe a top meta build, you can share with me on Discord, and I'll look into it, learn the build, and share with everyone on the Last Epoch community.